It's 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order, and the first item of business is adoption of the agenda. Moved by Greg, seconded by Stuart, that the agenda be adopted as printed and circulated. Are there any issues with the agenda? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Not seeing any. Minutes. Moved by Stuart, seconded by Greg, that the minutes from the April 3rd, 2024 council meeting be adopted as printed and circulated. Are there any issues with the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we have three timed items tonight. Zoning bylaw change at 6, zone change at 6, and REVC delegation at 6:30. So we will go down to the public meeting for the zoning bylaw. Moved by Greg, seconded by Stuart, that the council meeting be adjourned at 6:01 p.m. for the purposes of holding a public meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Spencer, I'll turn it over to you for item 6A, zone change application ZN5-24-02 to introduce a housekeeping amendments to the Township of Zorra zoning bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening to council, staff, and members of the public joining us here tonight. The application before council at this time is an application for zone change, which represents what we call a housekeeping amendment. Housekeeping amendment in this case is to facilitate a number of changes to the township zoning bylaw. Most of those, or all of those changes, I should say, are highlighted in the table for council. And a few that I would pick out just to highlight pertain to one, removing the minimum gross floor area requirement for a dwelling of any kind. The building code takes care of that, so there's no need for the township zoning bylaw to also cover that. Township has also found that once we've permitted now additional residential units, there were a few instances where existing garden suites that were coming up on their expiration actually met the definition of an additional residential unit. So as a result of that, we would remove the site-specific provisions that allow those garden suites on the farm properties they exist on. So again, just removal of a duplication. There's a number of changes relating to source water protection policies and mapping. Those will be tidied up through this housekeeping amendment. A couple of changes to definitions. Municipal drain has a revised definition which would be incorporated in the township zoning bylaw. Similarly, there's a couple of other definitions we would look at changing for mobile food trucks, septic systems, and holding tanks. As a result of circulation, we didn't receive any comments from members of the public or otherwise. The application itself was actually promoted twice in the local publication, so we did not receive anything speaking to any issues with the proposed changes. Staff are supportive of the proposed changes, and the one other area I would highlight that we're looking at changing that's one of the major changes, I suppose, would just be the areas currently within the village of Embro that are zone V for village would move into a CC, Central Commercial Zone, and that's really reflective of the fact that Embro does have full municipal services. So similar to Temsford, all of those properties are zone CC and Temsford, so we're just looking to bring Embro into that same classification. And I would emphasize that nothing that exists currently as far as legal non-conforming or otherwise would have an issue as a result of this change, so we're not looking to tell people that they no longer comply because it's in a CC zone, for example. Everything that exists as it does today would remain in the future. Happy to answer any questions that council may have on this.
Thanks, Spencer. Questions from council on the report? I will not ask if the applicant is here and wishes to speak to their application. Are there any members of the public either here or online who wish to speak to the application? All right. Then we move on to 6B, zone change application ZN5-24-05. Spencer.
Thank you. The application for zone change ZN5-2405 is an application which is coming to council as a result of a related application for consent which was approved by the county's Land Division Committee in early March of this year. In this instance, the applicants are facilitating a farm consolidation whereby approximately 97 acres of their existing cropland will be merged to the farm to the immediate north, and they would also be retaining an area of approximately 2.5 acres for a rural residential use. The key difference here between other farm consolidation applications that this council has seen is that in this instance, the business which operates on what is proposed to become the RR lot was identified as an on-farm diversified use. And as a result of this consolidation, we're seeking to add site-specific policies to the rural residential lot to allow it to continue to exist, not as an on-farm diversified use, but rather as a rural entrepreneurial use. REUs, not to be confused with ARUs, are now recognized and supported in the county's recent official plan amendment, which brought forward new agricultural policies. The use which currently exists on the site has existed for a number of years without issue. The one item which did come up as a result of circulation was through Township Public Works staff, and just with respect to the fact that there are currently 3 entrances that would service what will become the RR lot. And Township Public Works has made it clear that only 2 of those entrances are actually permitted to be there, so the 3rd entrance is to be removed. And as of the writing of the report, the agreement has been, I don't know if it's entered into, but the agreement process has commenced between Township Public Works and the applicants. So they will be removing that entrance to the township satisfaction once they're done with it, as what they're referring to as a temporary access for construction purposes. Staff are supportive of the application tonight. We're noting approval in principle as we were just waiting on changes to mapping and the associated bylaw. Those are just prepared now, so we can bring those forward presently or anytime in the future when council's ready to consider those to finalize the application. I'm happy to answer any questions council may have, and the applicants are also available to do the same.
Thank you, Spencer. Are there any questions from council on the report? Councilor Mitchell.
I think my question is to Steve because it's in reference to the driveway that Spencer just talked about and the removal of the 3rd driveway. I noticed that over the years, a number of applications have had stipulations that a 2nd or 3rd driveway could not be added. I just wonder what's the criteria of why there's restrictions on additional driveways into properties?
Thank you. Yeah, most of the issues with multiple driveways, as long as there's enough frontage for separation as per the building code. And then the other one is for the criteria to meeting for sight lines, is safe turning movements onto the roadway, on and off of the roadway. So if there's a sight line issue such as hills or something like that, that's what where we don't allow that to happen.
That there is opportunity, but
Yep,
as long as the
absolutely.
criteria is met.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council on the report? Does the applicant wish to speak to their application? Okay. And are there any members of the public, either here or online, who wish to speak to the application? All right. Moved by Stewart, seconded by Greg, that pursuant to the, you guys should, I don't know, they both start with K. They need to be different, like, I don't know, something's got to work on something there. Make my life just a little bit Moved by Stewart, seconded by Greg, that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meeting be adjourned at 6:09 p.m. and the regular meeting of council be called back to order. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And moved by Greg, seconded by Stewart, that the council of the Township of Zorra approve in principle the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZN5-24-02, to introduce housekeeping amendments to the Township of Zorra zoning bylaw number 35-99. Is there any discussion? I just want to say, I guess we're going to pass the bylaw for this at a subsequent meeting, but I think I love this whole thing. It's great. I think it simplifies things, it reduces overlap and redundancies, makes it easier for the average resident to navigate what they're going to do. I think the changes around, granny suites and the elimination of a minimum home size. There's another one I'm forgetting that I liked in there. I can't remember, but I just think this is like exactly the kind of progressive procedural bylaw that frankly every municipality should be considering these kinds of things going forward. Like these are the little kind of things that are going to make one by one homes more practical for people to actually get into. Anyway, yeah, better than some other housing policies, let's say. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that the Council of the Township of Zorra approve in principle the zone change application submitted by Doug Matheson and Karen Sample, whereby the retained lands resulting from consent application B23-76-5 and described as Part Lot 22, Concession 2, West Zorra, Township of Zorra, are to be rezoned from Special General Agricultural Zone A2-26 to Special Rural Residential Zone RRSP, and whereby the lands being severed resulting from consent application B23-76-5 be rezoned from Special General Agricultural Zone A2-26 to General Agricultural Zone A2. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So I think that you both know how this all goes from here. There is an appeal period, although I think there's nobody that has standing to appeal, right? So, but the bylaw has to come back at the next council meeting, which is now going to be, what is it, May 1st? May 1st, and then it'll all be official, okay? All right, and then we have until 6:30 for the delegation. I think we can probably do, Steve, your 8.1A Roads Division Report 2024-048 from the Director of Public Services, regarding a recommendation to apply surface treatment on Road 60 from County Road 45 to Hunt Road. I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Nothing really to highlight here, just possibly the fact that we set aside approximately $100,000 to $105,000 every year for surface treatment on various roads. Sometimes it's more than enough to cover the section of road we want to do. Other times it's not quite enough. So this is another good example of council's dedication and of approving our budget early. It allows us to tender early, to get our results early, and being able to see where we're sitting financially, to be able to spend some more money on other roads that need it.
Questions from council on the report? Councilor Mitchell.
Steve, it just occurred to me, when we do paving work, there's a factor built in there, and I can't remember what it's called, about the price of pavement or tar. Does that apply to this as well, or?
No, it's called the AC index, asphalt cement index.
Yeah.
It's like gas prices. It goes up and down,
Yeah.
very similar to gas prices. And every month there's a new number, right? It doesn't affect this, no.
Okay.
It does affect our paving jobs. That's why I didn't want to skim that too much. There's still $100,000 for the little flexibility in the AC price. So we should be fairly good.
So this price is the price?
This is locked in.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions on the report? Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that council direct staff to award Walker Construction to apply surface treatment on Road 60 from County Road 45 to Hunt Road for $145,408.98. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 9.4 Legislative Services Report 2024-049 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding naming of the boardroom at the Zorra Municipal Center. Dawn, I'll turn it over to you.
I would leave it open for questions from members of council.
Questions from council? Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that council name the boardroom at the Zorra Municipal Center the Margaret Lupton Boardroom. Sorry, did I say who was moved by? I did? Okay, I felt like I skipped that. All right. Any discussion? Councilor Mitchell.
Just comment, I think this is an excellent idea. Apparently East Zorra Tavistock didn't like my idea about naming the former East Zorra Town line the the Lupton line, so it's not going to be the Lupton line. So instead of, I think it was like 20 kilometers of road being named after Margaret, it's quite appropriate to have a boardroom named after. So I applaud the initiative, and I thank the CAO for actually bringing it to council to publicize this, that we're recognizing someone who contributed a tremendous amount of time and effort to this community. And her name will be on the, I don't know, on the door or how we're going to commemorate it, but it'll be there for long after we're not going into that boardroom anymore.
Deputy Mayor Greg.
Just briefly, because I believe I spoke at length when we added her name to the asset registry. But Councillor Mitchell just spoke to the contribution she made to the community, and I think it's really meaningful that, you know, the boardroom will be a space that council is going to use actively, but it's also a space that's going to be used by the community groups, the people who contribute to, you know, the well-being, the safety, the fun, all the cool stuff that happens in Zorra. And so I'm grateful for Dawn to have this idea that will reach just beyond just what council interacts with, but further into the community. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 10, correspondence requiring direction. Correspondence from Zorra Highland Park kindergarten class regarding what they love about the community. Any, where is it here? Correspondence requiring direction. There we go. So what I have is moved by Finch, seconded by Mitchell, that item 10A be received and filed for information purposes only. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor Gregg.
These are always really fun to look through, and it's great to hear from kids what they think is, you know, part of the community and the things that they experience outside of the community that they really like. I think the thing that really stood out to me was the common thread of these kindergarten kids really enjoying and appreciating the new splash pad that is now in Embro. And I think it's really great that we're sitting around a horseshoe with a new member of newish member of council who played a huge role in getting that there. So I hope the message back to those kids is that they're seeing, you know, that community volunteer who worked in their school and worked to get this cool splash pad that they love and appreciate so much, now at the table that's making lots of progressive, great decisions for the community, and that there'll be a spot here at this table for them at some point if they want to carry forward that work.
Anyone else? My favorite one was, maybe because I talk too much, I like this one because it's just so simple. Right? It just says, I love that my friend lives close, we go to the park. Like, that kid's got a public speaking career ahead of them. Like, it's just like, bang, that's it, right? That's everything that we all kind of wish for, right? I think it's just awesome. And that day that we were in that class was spectacular, right? Like, those kids were so engaged, like almost every one of them had something to tell us, in addition to the written stuff, something to tell us about it. And then even the ones who were shy, once that part was over and we got on the floor and started playing Lego with them and stuff, they were like, now I got stuff to tell you, you know. Now that the whole class is listening, you know, it was amazing. They made us artwork and all kinds of things, and when you look through these, like, it's easy to sort of say, oh, it's crayon coloring, but if you look through these and read them carefully, it's like, you know, that's actually about economic development, and that one's about employment, and that one's recreation, and, you know, and the things they talked to us about were the same things. They were talking to us about real things, right? They didn't have the big words to talk about them, but at the same time, they gave us some super simple messages, right, that were actually, if you pay attention, I think probably more what we should be paying attention to. I'm going to suggest to council, if you're good with it, I'm going to write a letter back to the teacher that she can read it to the class and, you know that they were formally acknowledged. I don't know how much it'll mean to them as kindergarten kids, maybe when they're older, that council actually saw it and acknowledged it, and I'm sure staff have taken a look at it, and if there's anything in there they can do, although it basically just says they love the park anyway, so there's much more we can do with that part. All right. So again, moved by Finch, seconded by Mitchell, that item 10A be received and filed for information purposes only. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 11A, Zorra Multis Courts Committee. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that item 11A be received and filed for information purposes only. Is there any discussion? Councillor Mitchell.
I have a question for Katie, who's on the committee, and that is, I see that the Lions Club is planning a fundraising event. They've also committed, I believe, 50,000. Is this fundraising event part of their 50,000, or is it above and beyond?
So this fundraiser is above and beyond. So the 50,000 that they've committed to is separate. They also supported one of our previous fundraisers in a way that we had added financial contribution. They ran a bar at an event and gave us the proceeds from that. They're running this car show. Last year, if you remember, they rented the hall for, I think it was called the June 10th Welcome to Tempsford / Remember When. So the car show idea came up as sort of having a similar type event to the June 10th event. And they were looking for something local to sponsor, and they thought of the committee, which was very generous and thoughtful of them. And they're also incorporating a bunch of other community groups and sports teams and whoever wants to come out and share some information. So that will be the revenue generated from the admission to the event. They will be donating back to the committee.
So once again, thank you, and above and beyond from the Tempsford Lions Club.
Anyone else? Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that item 11A be received and filed for information purposes only. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 12, information items. So just before I read the motion, what I have here is to receive and file 12A through G. Does anybody want to do anything different with any of those? Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Finch, that items 12A through G be received and filed for information purposes only. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And items of community interest and the calendar, Councillor Finch.
Tempsford Lions Annual Drop-Off Recycling Day is happening April 20th at the Tempsford Recreation Center. April 20th, the Legion is having a wing night, 5 to 9. April 25th, the Harrington Hall is having Constable Randy Crawford speaking at 6:30. May 4th, Craft and Tea for Two at Knox United in Embro from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. May 5th is the Legion Brunch. May 8th, the Beachville Museum and Zorra Heritage Committee is having an afternoon tea at 2:30. Appy Hour with our Pan is happening at Bernie's Sports Bar and Grill in Tempsford on April 26th, 5 to 6:30. The Egg Society is doing a spring fundraiser for rain barrels. You can order online, and it's pickup downtown Embro on May 4th. May 30th, the Zorra Home and School Committee is hosting a family fun night at the school with food trucks, silent and live auction, button making, and touch-a-truck. That's 5 to 8. Large article collection is the week of Monday, April 22nd. Reuse-a-Palooza is April 20th in Brownsville. And July 1st, Embro Minor Ball is having a bottle and can drive at the Matheson Park in Embro from 9 to 12. Yeah.
All right, anybody else on, Councillor Mitchell?
The annual Harrington Community Auction is a go again. Donations Thursday, May the 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m. Saturday, May the 4th from 10 a.m. to noon. And the online auction runs from May 8th to May 14th.
Anyone else? All right. So all we have left then is the delegation and confirmatory, right? You're good? 6:24. You want to wait 6 minutes? We'll go ahead, right? Okay. Rhonda, we will start 6 minutes early. I'll remind you, as I do, everyone else making a delegation to this council, it's safe to assume that they have done their homework. So you can highlight the items in there that you want to make sure that they remember and leave time for them to ask you a few questions.
Thank you. And thank you for the extra 6 minutes. I'm going to dash over to Esor Tavistock right after this. So this is our, I'm actually going to start with an apology. Normally I like to come earlier in the year, like March. Would be a nice time to come in and do our 2023 year in review presentation. But we are a small but mighty team, myself and Crystal Van Rokel. And March, we were all hands on deck with the Career Expo, and we were pouring as much of our time and attention and energy into that event. And so I want to start with an apology, but I can also tell you it was well worth the investment. And I will just move right on to a little bit of the metrics similar to the year prior. Economic development is hard to quantify, and so what we aim to do with this report each year is bring forward a snapshot of types of activities and types of focus that we have spent throughout the year. So obviously business support and measuring some kind of impact is important. So in 2023, we fielded 338 inquiries, general and marketing, and that includes our outreach to business. What that is if a new program comes down the pipeline and we think, oh, this business, that business, they need to hear about this program. We don't wait for them to receive it passively through our social media, although we do blast it out there, but we proactively outreach to as many of the companies that we think might be able to benefit from. So that number is a little bit of a two-way street. So sometimes it's reaching out, sometimes it's inquiries coming in. So the 37 expansion inquiries and 56 land and development inquiries, those are conversations. Often those are long conversations. Some of those might be repeat. You might pick up a call in January, pick it up again in February, maybe September. These conversations tend to be longer in nature and take longer to yield impact. We did do 28 business site visits this year. That is down from last year, as I promised it would be last year. We had 3 people on actively doing outreach last year, and this year it's just myself and Crystal. So that number is down. But 28 business visits, we're pretty happy about that, and we're aiming for another 25 this year with intentional outreach and business visits. We attended 24 events. Now moving over to the investment side, the $7.5 million invested by 14 private sector companies. So I just like to offer the caveat that this in no way is a comprehensive number of all of the investment that's happening in rural Oxford. You would know that just from the price tag there. What this is, though, is an indicator of companies that we've had interactions with throughout the year. We tend to send out an email once a year for the companies we know that are investing, growing, that sort of thing, and we'll say to them, would you mind sharing how much you spent this year so we can provide it to councils in an aggregate number? And so, again, just a snapshot to show 14 private sector companies have indicated that this is how much they have spent in 2023. We obviously do a lot of marketing and promotion, which has been really helpful for a lot of our rural companies. We did another 13 business videos last year. And you'll see throughout the slides some rural business grand openings and announcements. Something I'm also happy to report is that we've reached over 200,000 people across our social media channels for a rural economic development agency. And I've even had a CAO reach out and say, I was surprised to find you on social media, let alone almost all of the channels. So that reach is continuing to grow, which frankly does surprise me too. So some of the work that we did in 2023 around some local marketing and communications, we did on ruraloxford.ca/news. If you ever just want to pick me up kind of story about what is happening in our amazing backyards, I just love our newsroom.
we continue to get articles written and post articles, and we share them through our newsletters, and we share them out through social media. And it's been a really great engagement tool. We actually have companies reach out to us to say, hey, I've got news to share. Would you guys help us write it? Like, would you guys share this out? So that's catching on. We covered off 24 rural business features last year, and then in addition, another 20 community or program updates. So some people call it a blog page, but it's newsroom articles. We also overhauled our website to make it more AODA compliant. We've got some billboards around the community. We do our rural Oxford networking events. We do obviously market and promote any investment opportunities and real estate listings that we see in the 5 rural communities. We also sponsored the Oxford Fresh Map. We've got a full panel there. Again, that's supporting the rural businesses, which are largely make up the Oxford Fresh Map. And yes, I'll go to the next slide. Across our 8 rural networking events that we hosted, there were 5 business to business and then 3 volunteer appreciation ones. And across each of those events, we had 125 attendees come out, and we have another 5 already on the schedule for this year in 2024. We'll be adding a 6th, and then as well on May 23rd is our 10th anniversary and awards event. So we have quite a bit happening on the award or on the event side of things this year. I'm hoping to see some Zorra representatives join us for our event next month. And so we attend and support grand openings, ribbon cuttings across each of the townships. So the only thing I need to correct is on this slide right here. Southwest Oxford asked me to move McKink's Flower Farm back into their township. It is not in Norwich Township. So I am making a point to let everyone know. McKink's is moving back to Southwest Oxford. So yeah, that's just a few highlights to share with you. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I think the visuals are pretty helpful there. That's actually the hardest part about putting these presentations together is I am by and large an Excel spreadsheet kind of person. And if you give me a slide deck, I will fit so many words on it that you can read. So I challenge myself to provide visual presentations and hopefully I touch on some of the right speaking points that you're interested in. On the next slide is just a little collage of collaborative community partners events that we supported or attended, whether it was the Norwich Career Expo or their AGM, the Drumble Fall Fair. Small Business Center puts on a lovely business event in the fall, and we supported that financially and by bringing a table full of guests. Also, Community Futures Oxford, we partner with them quite often on a few initiatives. And the top 2 photos here, that's when the Thamesford Business Association was taking a look at a relaunch, and they asked us and some other community partners to come and support the launch event and then also let the community know about some of the services that are available to the business community. So that's just a few examples of how we try to be present and local in the community. Another one that is exciting is Canada's Outdoor Farm Show in the fall. This one's a little unique. For the last 2 years, we have intentionally been building the relationship with Canada's Outdoor Farm Show. Crystal, we thought, let's just reach out to them and see what it is they need and like how we can help. So it turned out they needed volunteers coming out of the pandemic. Volunteers are a little bit hard to find. So what we did was for one of the full days of the Canada's Outdoor Farm Show, of the 3 days, Crystal fully organized and coordinated all of the volunteers for the information booths. It's very practical, very hands-on, very grassroots support. That also gave us an opportunity to work on that relationship. It also gave us an opportunity to walk the show, to see who's there locally, who's not there. And so out of that, we have a very exciting initiative that we're working on right now. And I really think that the foundation of that relationship has helped the conversation go very organically. And so what we're hoping to do this fall is have a Discover Rural Oxford booth where we have a tent set up or space set up and have space for rural businesses, local rural businesses to come and apply and be a part of this Canada's Outdoor Farm Show. A lot of our businesses won't be able to take the full 3 days out, but they might be able to take 1 day out. They might be able to take 2. And so we're going to set it up that between 10 and 12 rural businesses will be able to come. We are applying to OMAFRA for a RED grant, but I think regardless whether the RED grant comes through, I think we have the support in the partnership that we're going to be able to run this initiative this year. It's a pilot for us and we're really excited about it. So just thought I would explain in case you were like, how does working in information booth produce fruit? Well, that is how. I'll move to the next slide on workforce development. There's obviously no shortage of workforce support needed in Oxford County. So a few examples of support that we provided. Community Employment Services, they did a full application with RED last year to redo and revamp their popular workinoxford.ca platform. We supported that through steering committee work as well as marketing and promotion. There were several local career expos last year. There was one in Woodstock, one in Ingersoll, one in Norwich. There's probably one I'm missing. So we tried to provide support and let the businesses in rural Oxford know about these opportunities. And then, of course, every year we support the Employer One survey. So I think there were about 300, or last year there were 352 responses from all of Elgin, Oxford, and Middlesex, with 100 of them being from Oxford County. I think this year, for 2024, we're looking at about 300 responses, and again, close to 100 being from Oxford County. So for such a large region, Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford, and London, and it does include St. Thomas, Oxford County has a strong representation, and I've reached out to the Elgin Middlesex Workforce Planning Board and asked them if they could provide to us the local data for Oxford County. Right now we just have it as the full region, and as soon as I do, I'll share that. It's got some good questions in there about what employers are feeling the workforce situation is looking like. And okay, I'll move to the next slide. Tourism Innovation Grant winners. So this is an initiative, now I think our 3rd year running, that we've supported, Community Futures Oxford, Tourism Oxford, and Rural Oxford Economic Development Partnership. Combined, these 4 entrepreneurs invested $85,000 last year into their businesses. 7 jobs were created, and combined they welcomed over 11,000 visitors. Each of these tourism grant winners created some type of innovative aspect to their tourism operation. They may have created a new experience or enhanced an experience that they wanted to build on further. They each received $3,000 in grant funding. So you can see that's a pretty good return on investment for rural tourism. You can also note from last year, 3 of the 4 recipients were rural. We're excited to say this year, 1 of the 3 recipients was rural, but we're still happy with that. They're all fantastic projects. The next slide, you've probably seen this photo if you're on social media at all. The Welcome to Oxford Fam Tour Award. So yes, we did this video series in 2022-2023, but we submitted it for an award. We paired it, with Oxford Connection. Every second year, they do an investment attraction event where they bring together industrial site selectors. We tour them around Oxford County. We show them opportunities in the area. And network, really. It's a big networking event. And so anyways, we paired that event and some of the success from that event with the Welcome to Oxford video series, which each rural municipality, each of the urban centers, Southwest Oxford, the SCORE Economic Development Region, and Oxford County as a whole, we spearheaded this massive project that has just this high quality output and we received an actual urban award for marketing at the Economic Development Council of Ontario. So I thought that would be worth noting one more time. On the next slide is continuous learning and development. So while we aim to be a walking Rolodex and resource for your business community and the people looking to do business in your communities, we also take some time out to invest and make sure that we're staying current with what's happening in the space, what resources are coming down the pipeline, and making, again, having some long-term visions for some of the opportunities that we want to bring to rural Oxford, and starting those relationships and networking and building them so that we can do cool things here. The next page is just a refresh photo of who's currently part of our economic development staff and board team. I think with the exception of Colin, he just got voted in at this meeting. So he'll be in the next one. Again, so we proudly serve the 5 rural townships. This is our 10th anniversary year. We're really excited about that. We have put together a gala sort of event. We're going to have dinner. We've put together some business awards that people have been nominating businesses in rural Oxford to receive an award. We'll be presenting those at the event. And I think that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope that gives you a snapshot of some of the work we do. The last thing I'll say is with the current landscape, about 80% of our work is business retention and expansion style. We're working with local companies, grassroots, boots on the ground. 20% of our efforts are spent on investment attraction, fielding those inquiries, and supporting the Oxford Connection Group at trade shows like CIAL, which is the food trade show that's relevant for rural Oxford. So if one of our townships ended up assembling land and getting some land ready, shovel ready, investment ready, that would change our portfolio. We would, in partnership with you, by extension, be a stronger marketing arm for the economic development opportunities. But right now, in this landscape, it's a bit tough on that side of things without shovel-ready land.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions from council? Not seeing any. Thank you, Rhonda. Look
Okay.
forward to seeing you later, I guess, next month now, May, right?
We'll see you in May.
The 10th anniversary, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then all that we have left is confirmatory and adjournment. Everybody's good? Feels a little bit strange. Moved by Finch, seconded by Mitchell, that bylaw 20-24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held April 17th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time this April 17th, 2024. And further, that the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized to sign the same and affix the corporate seal thereto. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And moved by Finch, seconded by Mitchell, that this session of council be now adjourned and herewith closed at 6:43 p.m. And the next meeting of council be called for May the 1st, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. in the council chambers of the Township Municipal Office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.